Give me that Sivir first pick.
The Cassiopeia is banned. Fox had some monster performances on that champion.
Yeah, target banning Fox, definitely a good idea for H2K right here. And then SK looking at the Kalista out. If you value Kalista, you should probably value Sivir too. Otherwise, H2K is just going to take it. They say we don't want to deal with that cheesy Shen. Keep those gobbles away from those lanes. No support system. Keep those lanes split up and then out macro them, out move them.
280 carry bans here. Both junglers are still, or both of those top tier junglers are still available. They've really been targeting players rather than picking strong stuff.
Are they going to go for the Rumble third ban here? Odoano has shown a good performance yesterday. He did get shut down, but honestly, I feel only Fnatic could have done to H2K what they actually did right there. I'm sure if SK can do the same thing. However, SK usually plays to their enemy's level almost. You know, very sloppy game against Elements, but they had some close games against H2K last time. If you don't remember that game, all I have to say is Twisted Fate against Fox's Victor last time you saw that matchup, and then eventually Hjarnan with the Sivir.
They won't get it this time.
1v1ing Candy Panda's Vayne later in the game. Is Candy Panda going to go for that return Vayne? Will we see another Twisted Fate? Or just an Alistar pickup early? All possibilities.
Yeah, so the Alistar's available, no junglers banned. You've got Rek'Sai, Gragas on the board.
The world is their oyster.
They have just about a lot of options since the target bans have really been in that bottom side. Thresh taken away from Kasing, who's, you know, was known to first pick that they would have sometimes. Not so much lately, but you're right, the Alistar's up. I think this is something that also plays right up their alley. It would not
You'd also just see
surprise me.
A Rumble first pick for H2K here, or some generic jungle pick if they really feel like, if you just want to be reactive, say Lulix, you know, just give me the Rek'Sai, I will do the job. Honestly, I just want to see them with some pressure in the lane so they don't allow Svenskeren to excel at what he does. H2K say, okay, junglers are both open, top lane pool is open wide, mid lane we can still get some semblance of a counter pick, and they go for the Corki. I was saying how I rated as a third decent option, and somebody actually asked me on Twitter, it's like, why? Why is Corki third pick right now? And then just take this moment to answer that lovely person. I just feel Corki offers a lot of versatility with a good early game, mid game power spike with that Triforce, and just the ability to clear waves. And that just adds a lot of tempo to the game. And I know I overuse that word sometimes too much, but it just allows you versatility, and especially in H2K style, you can get Hjarnan alone in lane, allowing Lulix and Kasing to roam together. Later on, you can also just put Corki in the mid lane, and he can hold his own even in a level deficit against most mid laners, just in terms of wave clear. This then opens up the map for you to move your mid laner to the side lane, like H2K likes to do, so a solid pickup for them. SK with their turn to draft.
Yep, they go ahead and they get the Gragas, they get the Gnar, but harken back a little bit for this Corki. This is, you know, Hjarnan played it yesterday, obviously that didn't result in a win for them, but you can see that they're, when AD carries are getting banned away against them, they're digging a little bit deeper. I want to see how comfortable he really is playing this, and how comfortable, they clearly were making a statement to say, first pick, we want this, we dare you to see what you're going to grab, and Alistar's still up.
It's not much like dare what you want to grab, it's likely that Candy Panda will end up a Vayne here again. Or maybe a Caitlyn. It's just that it fits so many compositions, and obviously H2K have to pick the Rek'Sai here because you don't want to pick too much here. Because if you really had prior on a pick, you would have done a tier 1. So you don't want to reveal too much. You just want to say we're likely going to end up having our mid lane counter picked anyways, so we might as well pick it early. Jace is still a flex pick in the sense that he can go both top and mid, but it is extremely likely that it will go mid lane. And of course they match tier 1 jungler in Rek'Sai for tier 1 jungler on the side of SK, Gragas. So not too much information given away, honestly, but H2K already with the semblance of a poke composition. So we might actually see a Janna come out later. Could be good against a Gnar. Gnar jumping in too with the Howling Gale and the Monsoon. Add a Rumble in there and you run the very obvious triple threat composition that obviously Fnatic likes to run too. So Rumble Janna might actually be a good way to finish up this composition.
And there's no danger of it being picked away either. So Lulu and Caitlyn are both picked up. Candy Panda decides to go back onto that. So the Vayne option should be a very long range auto attack for him to be getting ahead in the lanes. But again, H2K, you know, they're the team that does like to take these swaps. Wouldn't be too surprising to see.
Yeah, and SK Gaming picking up the Lulu, very comfort picked for N-rated really. He likes that Lulu because it offers offensive lane potential. Double push here. Caitlyn and Lulu can knock on your tower very quickly and just try and whittle that one down. Wild Growth, very easy to use in teamfights. Complement well with Gragas, with Gnar. So honestly, I feel it's almost a must ban against SK Gaming because I feel N-rated is considerably weaker on any support except Lulu. No. Is H2K gonna prove me right? Partially so. I imagine they have to go for a non-Alistar support here. Because the double range is just too big. Yeah, Janna comes out.
Left up. They take him. And the Janna.
And then the Ryze instead of the Rumble. I feel this can complement it just so. Ryze is very immobile. You can get hunt down, but with some peel and disengage from the Janna, you can keep him alive in these fights and do a lot of damage.
Well, and we've seen in the right hands what he can do, you know. This is a league right now here in Europe that has just such a high caliber of top laners, and Odoamne is among them. Even when Huni was pulling out that Ryze and he was getting poked out time and time again, or rather taken down, focused time and time again, he still was able to make big plays and come out massively ahead. That's something that I feel Odoamne can very much do, even if he does get set behind in this game.
And you did talk about the lane swap, and this is such a very obvious situation where H2K wants to have normal lanes. In my opinion, they want to get that Ryze scaling as quick as they can. Don't delay that tier. Don't delay that scaling all too much, whereas SK, in a lane swap, they can take the towers down quickly, and the only really viable mid laner for Fox left is Azir. SK with honestly a well-rounded composition. Both teams here, different composition to a sense. That will be interesting. I think Odoamne is the #1 priority on H2K. Keep going. However, if he falls behind, they can play the game pseudo 4v5 still, because they have double poke, magic on Corki and 80 on Jace, and we saw what Febiven could do with a Fed Jace.
Really, you mean? Well, yeah. I'm really interested to see what they do decide to do in the early game. I think I agree that getting Odoamne ahead is important. Against Fnatic, it did not work when he was set behind. This is a guy that is doing roughly a third of the damage of his team. He's the highest damage percentage out of top laners, and when he got shut down, the game did not end well for H2K.
Yeah, but honestly, that also is to the merit of the way Fnatic kept snowballing that advantage. SK have shown weaknesses in their macro gameplay a little bit, but they're improving steadily. They asked for more time. How much time do they really have? About 10 to 20 seconds before we get to game, and then they have to be ready.
Just about, and that's all we got for that one. So why don't you guys tell us what you think for this last game of week number 5. Go ahead and hit up at LOL Esports with hashtag H2KWin or hashtag SKWin if you think when these two take it out on the Rift, who's going to come away with it at the end of the day, H2K or SK. So we're getting ready to start up. You can see history of the team and all the way into the present. Yep. Crowd's still here, still making noise. And here we go, onto the Rift.
Yeah, pretty much packed studio right behind me. Full crowd, always love the energy. It was nice to hear.
Feel it right through the floor sometimes.
Yeah. Let's see how these matchups play out. Usually when there's no distinct grouping, I usually like to just go over the matchups. Say what I know, what I don't know. Haven't seen Azir into Jace too much. Feel like the early poke is on Azir's side, but then once the Jace starts scaling up and farms pretty decently on the tower, it's always a joy to watch a good Jace player CS on the tower, because he has that W that he can activate for maximum attack speed shots. And I plan out the minion attacks. Look at bot lane. Lulu Caitlyn is very strong, both in a 2v2 and a siege scenario, but Janna Corki could lose that lane gracefully. People get behind, and Kasing finds himself a belly.
Shield out a little bit late. Got to be careful there. Janna is not the best champion to check face first into a brush with.
Yeah, and H2K want to find the ideal lanes right here. They're scouting. I really don't feel like they want to play a lane swap. I think Janna Corki could go even gracefully against Caitlyn Lulu. Maybe 10 CS, 20 CS behind, but that's fine. Because once you hit level 6, without too big of an item disparity, Corki can always farm in lane. He can always get around 70% of that CS on his own merit. You can free up the Janna to roam around. Note later in the game, why this Janna is so good in poke comps? Because these double poke comps lately, whether it's a Varus, whether it's an Ezreal or a Jace, they all have 80 based poke, and here Freddy reveals himself, so should we have the option to switch it back up, but it's too late for them.
Very, very late.
Odoamne double jungling right here. But yeah, that Janna shield, that 80 steroid can always buff that poke from Jace later in the game. And they give full XP to Kasing here. Notice how he's level 2, so he's gonna wander into the enemy jungle and see if he can find out something, get some information. See how this game plays out further.
Kasing is coming around the side. Are they going to look to try to go very early in onto Freddy? Well, they don't really have enough to really finish him.
Surprise, NATO!
Connect either.
No shocks involved, so not the strongest one of NATO's. And this is SK's lane swap style. They send Freddy in there immediately, and usually it ends up with him being dove and dying. So let's see if he actually learns this lesson. Very outdated lane swap style and gets punished a lot. He wants to soak experience, but meanwhile Odoamne is getting some too, and Rated hasn't based yet. Svenskeren hasn't based yet, so SK has no intention of coming to help Freddy here. And look at the top lane, look at the jungler duo queue coming up there. Odoamne has a snare too. This wave just has to go in. And once these guys start pushing quicker, Freddy knows what's up. The second they don't slow push to deny him, he knows what's coming and may very well be too late.
Does he have a chance to get out? We'll have to see. Odoamne looking for him.
I feel like H2K could have done more there, but they were afraid of N-Rated, and Svenskeren obviously join the party potentially. However, N-Rated did show on the bottom tower, so yeah, questionable early game.
Definitely. H2K will, after a bit of a wonky start, be able to start 4v0ing this top tower. Meanwhile, Candy Panda and Rated are only 2 members down bottom with some attention being paid to the mid here by Svenskeren. Fox is trying to bait Ryu into a bad situation. So actually, the poke out.
I may have been wrong. If they bounce this wave, just thinking out loud here, if they bounce this wave and hand it over to Odoamne, then they can actually put him ahead relatively to his lane opponent and actually give that guaranteed early game start to the Rise, because they guarantee that he stays even with Freddy by double jungling. Then they bounce the wave backwards, his full HP, full resources. Leave some ward so he doesn't get ganked. It's actually a good start for the Rise if he can get his tier early. It'll be slightly later, but at least he doesn't run the risk of getting that level 3 gank from the Gnar Gragas. So maybe that was H2K's plan after all, and maybe my knowledge was outdated.
We'll have to see if it works out for them. As it stands, what you said in Champ Select still holds. I think Odoamne getting him ahead is the key to this one. Ryu will be able to land a lot of poke. We've already seen some very deadly Jaces since his resurgence in the LCS. Yarnan should be able to provide consistent damage, but Odo is going to be the one who historically has been able to step up and carry.
Yeah, and because H2K took that tower first, they had the base advantage. They went down. They know Candy Panda's not going to get more than a pickaxe, so it doesn't matter if he goes a little later. And because Freddy's showing in the top lane, it's pretty obvious that SK's bot lane is going to go back to bot, so everything is telegraphed for now. H2K is playing with full information. As we see Fox dropping low on mana, Ryu still has sustained, so eventually Fox will have to base. So the pressure advantage on H2K's side, and crucial, if Svenskeren can get a dive on Odoamne, that could tilt this game. But doesn't look like that's possible right here.
May not be, but N-Rated could be falling right into the trap as he has to burn Flash immediately, finding Kasing and Lulex in his sights. H2K now turning their attention towards this bottom turret where Candy Panda is just standing right under it. He may not be standing for much longer, cutting off his supply line. Lulex is in there. Candy Panda recognizes. They're taking way too much time though, and Lulex has to flash. Abort mission. H2K can't get it done.
And your jungle's level 2. You know Freddy still has his teleport. He is equal levels with Odoamne, but the 4v3 dive on the tower is never going to work. Not against double range with shield. Yes, and his flash is down, but Lulex should probably be farming a little more to go even, because Svenskeren is amassing quite a big experience advantage. This is the opportunity cost of getting Odoamne ahead. Lulex just hits level 3 right about now. As Gragas on Svenskeren, he's already level 5. 2 levels down.
Could be a problem for them indeed. So, Sing getting a little poked out by N-Rated there. Lulex is definitely going to be a little bit further down, and Odoamne and Freddy are like trading even here, so...
No, Odoamne has to keep that minion wave out of the tower, because he definitely doesn't want to get dove. Svenskeren. However, that minion wave is pushing out, which should prove easy. Look at it. He's a full level ahead, or not quite a full level, half a level ahead of Freddy right here. So Operation Feed Odoamne is going well, but at the cost of their own jungler. And he's the only tanky member on H2K too, so definitely spells out an interesting mid game.
Will indeed. Have to keep some tabs on that one. Svenskeren doing a little bit of the counter jungle mission. He gets out nice and easy. Only takes the Prey Seeker from Lulex. Still heavy pushing with Candy Panda and Raid in the bot. This is to be expected. You've got that Caitlyn, Lulu double poke lane. It's going to be very hard for Yarnan and Kasing to get much done. And they don't have a tower to fall back to either, so they have to go back all the way to a second tier. Yeah, big wave is coming towards them.
Big gold lead, relatively, for the state of the game here for SK Gaming. 1,000 gold ahead purely on farm. But there's still a lot of gold to be picked up in that bottom lane 4. On the Corki on H2K side, and it's just amassed basically in the jungle and in the bot lane, honestly, where most of the advantages lie. Kasing gets forced out, but once Corki hits 6, it frees up Kasing as a resource. Yarnan will not get punished by this double range. Not heavily enough, and he can always range farm a bit. But Lulex, his jungle's running dry. He's running out of camps, and you almost have to move to the opposite side of the map to get them. Svenskern's consistently counter jungling. Hasn't spent much time in his own jungle, and this is putting H2K in a precarious position.
Well, it's not one that they've been used to being in. Despite that loss yesterday, H2K have been, sitting close to the top of the standings. SK doing what they're doing to this H2K team right now. They are looking to, separate themselves from the rest of those bottom 7 that we're talking about and get themselves further ahead in this. Right now, they're making a statement that, yes, we can do it, and they've outthought H2K on a couple of levels.
Definitely outmoving them. Gold gap just closed a little bit right now, 200 gold difference. A massive wave got picked up on the bottom, and Odoamne is even into the Rise Gnar matchup, so this is good for H2K. Remember, they're running a poke composition that really excels in the mid game, so as long as they group up, and then, yeah, as you point out for me, as we saw here, Pyra, double tier, and that is risky. Double tier often gets praised for having fantastic mid to late game if it scales up, but it's so risky to play early because you don't have combat stats. You spend 700 gold just for mana, for repetitive poke, but once it charges up, you can do a lot of damage.
For SK's team too, I mean, they've got some late game threat themselves.
Look right now what H2K is doing. They're setting up for their signature 5-man bot lane party. Ryu pushes in mid lane and moves first. Ooh, nearly so close. Odoamne is in the bot lane. I believe he got spotted by a ward.
Yeah, Svenskern's gonna go ahead and find Lulex, throws the big barrel. That's first blood, and it goes to N-rated. H2K just don't seem in sync right now.
Yeah, very telegraphed group here. We saw Ryu move over, and just gonna double check on my...
Good shock blast though.
He wasn't spotted by a ward. That's a Caitlyn trap in the bottom brush, but they knew it was coming, and Lulex got spotted out, and we saw it right there. Level 5 Lulex on Rek'Sai. Level 6 Svenskern. And honestly, if you want to group on the bot lane, you just want to show up in front of that tower and just double poke, honestly, instead of going for that dive. Very counterintuitive towards their lineup.
That was the cost of getting this Rise ahead. You look at the CS numbers, that's not even currently the case anymore. Maybe Odoamne can make a play here, but Freddy's already hopped his way to safety. Still farming up, stacking that tier, but as you mentioned, this is risky. This is late game. If SK utilizes the moments of weakness that H2K have, let's see if they can get themselves ahead in this game and try to take down H2K.
Yeah, Odoamne was in such a good position, but now he falls down 10 CS, 12 CS, whereas previously he was bang on even. Spending his teleport as well, as Freddy has teleport advantage, Svenskern has vision advantage, SK has push advantage. A lot of advantages here for SK, and this will manifest in their first Dragon of the game.
Well, after that, they'll have Dragon advantage. Looks like it is going to go uncontested as H2K are in the dark about this one. Picked up, confirmed by Svenskeren. Candy Panda continues to poke out. Well, N-rated was a little bit away.
Power spikes you want to look for. Corki Triforce and whatever items Jace will have at that point. He wants the Mura mana as quick as he can. Add a BF sword to that and just start poking. Chipping away at those towers. However, Azir and Lulu, Azir and Caitlyn, whole lot of wave clear, so you really want to force them out and then threaten the flank, but the person usually flanking Lulex is so far behind this game. He has 21 CS.
Rated, could be caught here. Monsoon, or Howling Gale, I should say. Ooh, Ignite is on, forced to wild growth himself. A rocket connects, but it doesn't have enough damage in Rated. I don't think he expected that one to come through. Yarnan took some damage as well, but he's fine.
Svenskern still in that red jungle. Trying to find an opening on Ryu here. He looks to go over the wall, but Ryu knows he's safe on his left flank. Good positioning by him.
Odoamne continues to be down in the CS. Now meanwhile, back to the mid. Svenskeren shows himself, and they just keep him away from his own tower. He's gonna go down after 2 big ultis.
Just as I praised the positioning from Ryu. Moves back to the middle of the lane. Svenskeren goes over and uses that level advantage. Lulex just hit 6, and look at the tower, Pyra.
Yeah, the caster curse is real, Crepo. Lulex, he's got 6. He's going to have to try to make himself look a little bigger than he is versus SK to try and push them off here. But Svenskjaeren's already backed off. He's going to be going up to the top. Odo could be in some trouble. Let's see if he backs into the safety of his tower.
What happened to the ever so proactive H2K that it was always a couple of steps ahead? Only SK is stepping to the plate right here. They asked for time, they got time, and they're proving that they have not played this game tremor since. Lulex, do you really want to go there?
He makes some big tremors. Freddy's there in Meganar form, so you got to be careful, Lulex. Meanwhile, Odoamne is still going to soak farm up in the top, but as it stands, SK Gaming, 13 minutes in, they've got themselves 2,000 gold ahead, Dragon advantage by 1, and they are the ones making plays on the map.
Yeah, an N-rated finished Moby Boot Sidestone. The bread and butter from supports right now, and he can move around the map quicker, much quicker than Kasing can at the moment. Yes, Janna has a bit of a movement speed steroid on her own, but yeah, SK in prime position, but we've seen many teams get a lead, take out those first row of towers, tier 1s, or chip away at them, but then fail to take it a step further. And we've seen H2K come back from losing early games too, and they still haven't hit their spike yet, so it's too early to count anybody out, because we know, if you watch the Fnatic game, just how much damage a Jace can do. Absolutely true.
Ryu looking to emulate Febivin on that one, and he's still got a ways to go. You mentioned, you know, these tiers, they take a while to stack, and you know, it's a long-term investment for H2K, but this hasn't really been their MO throughout the split. Yes, it's maybe changing a little bit, but they've usually been the team that gets to head. They go these 10 to 20 minutes and then get up and get ahead and get a big power spike and, you know, take fights around, translate those into towers. It's not happening so far. They've only got 1 tower versus SK, who are standing strong here. Now, SK Gaming going to continue to try and control this pace, get themselves into a happy mid-game, so where they have power troughs in that Caitlyn, where they have power troughs in the Azir, they'll be able to compensate for that with their lead.
Yeah, SK honestly looking to play a very passive game here until the second dragon. It seems, ironically, this was, or not ironically actually, just history tends to repeat itself, because last time they faced off, SK finished the game with 4 dragons to none, if I recall correctly. So H2K got behind in dragons, but eventually Rio found an opening with his TF porting in and taking out a Fox every time. And it looks like this game is back on Rio's shoulders.
Right now, if they will be able to step up to the plate and carry, that's what H2K is hoping for. Odoamne will still have some time.
Ooh, that misses.
Glass not connecting.
He has to clear the wave.
There's an opening here for SK. They're going to be able to finish off this tower, and they do.
Yeah, Rio
2-1 for them.
Tries to connect the poke that would then splash onto the wave, but misses, and this is crucial. Just sacrifices his tower there. When you run a Jace, you have to take a choice whether you will hit the minions or Odoamne going in.
Yes, he is. Freddy's in Mini-Gnar. It's going to be a while to stack it up.
3 snares.
He has to burn his flash. Odo is going to get out of dodge, though. Lulex coming back around the side. Is this just a feint? It looks like it.
Acting.
Prey Seeker. Narbar stacking.
Oh, he's out.
He's going to be nice and safe. Fox is there for defense as well. They might be baiting this one. And Odoamne goes down. Fox tricked by Freddy.
Yeah, H2K a step behind against SK Gaming here, falling for very easy tricks, and SK honestly playing very well as a team. Continuously helping each other. Freddy knowing his limits. Knows that Arise just doesn't do that much damage just yet. Yeah, very different H2K. 4,000 gold in the lead right now, SK Gaming. Impressive performance.
Very impressive indeed. And remember, you hark back to the last time these two met, that was back in week 3. It was quite a long game. It took a little while to get going. There were these back and forth fights. SK controlled the dragons, though. They were the ones that were prioritizing this, and H2K just, they didn't seem to care. They even gave up a Baron, but they still were able to finish him off.
H2K in that game had a very different comeback mechanic. They had the triple threat with the TF porting in, but right now, they're playing with a whole different team composition. They have poke, and poke from behind is so incredibly hard to play because, yeah, quite obviously people would just get too tanky and they would just not care, and as long as you can't keep up that minion wave clearance, then you're falling behind, and then SK will punish you and just straight up dive you. The composition. Gnar can get into the side, Svenskjaeren can go in, knock somebody back.
So can
Should a shuffle with Fox, and then if somebody gets caught and clumped upon, then Wild Growth will be the answer from SK Gaming.
We'll see if that does come to pass with this Dragon coming up, H2K will be moving into position, or at least attempting to. Still some pressure on the top by Ottawamne, dealing with, Freddy, but it is N-Rated who's the one who takes the brunt of that shock blast back in the middle. They might have to reevaluate their positioning. Crab's gonna be fought over. Looks like Candy Panda will be able to secure it.
Yeah, Kosu Pepper was the first one this weekend to feel the brunt force of that Jace poke, as we see Ottawamne square off with Freddy yet again.
Those stuns.
Technically snares. I also feel like
you got me.
Feel like you're perma-stunned with the rate they're coming out there. Ira. Snare's even worse, because you can
I've been wrong about those before.
You can cast abilities, or you can watch people hammer you in the face over and over. Torment. Yeah, Ottawamne, he's charging up. Jace is charging up. Corki just hit his power spike, so that might buy enough power for H2K to stay in this fight. Want to contest his Dragon. They have to poke their way in, and SK might just all in the Dragon. Look at Fox. I thought for a second he was going to flank, but yeah. The next J-Skew is going to be big.
Yeah, but they're going to have to make a move now. Candy Panda's taking a lot of damage from that Shock Blast. H2K decides this is the time. Can they secure the Dragon? They get pushed back. Lulex is there. The Monsoon is going to keep them alive, and it is secured. They take it away from SK. Meanwhile, though, Ottawamne is going to be the one taken down. And it is a 1-for-none. Yarnan trying to beat a hasty retreat.
Look at bot wave, though.
Should be able to do it. There is a big bunch of minions that SK can take advantage of, and they're just buying time, stopping the ports. Svenskeren, low as he is, can push on this tower. Fox waiting for Ryu. Will he be in danger? I think so. Gonna have to burn his flash. Summoner heal immediately.
Good read by Fox. He knows that Ryu wants to go to that bot wave to clear all those minions, but not in time. Svenskeren pushes it in. SK trade 1 kill and 1 tier 2 tower for a Dragon on H2K, and honestly, get better of that trade. However, H2K stopped their bleeding, so now they have more time to scale up that poke. But
that Dragon was really crucial for them, but they're still down 5,000 gold. It's just ridiculous. SK have been the ones been able to push these towers all across the way. Odo needs more time to charge, but it seems like he just isn't going to have that much.
Yeah, and Lulex, he's a jungler that will always go sidestone, right? So he's this tanky ward bot for his team that shadows the lanes, and when they snowball, it goes well because he keeps pace with the game perfectly so with his item build. But right now, he fell behind, and I've honestly seen supports with more CS 20 minutes than what he has right now. 40 CS, he's down a lot, and it's not like it's his fault, you know. H2K as a team chose to give priority farm to Ottawamne, but he sacrificed a lot of that momentum by going bot lane for that signature dive. Good read by SK Gaming. They stopped him there. Got a Dragon. Honestly, reading this game very, very well.
Yes, they are, and they definitely had to be watching that footage yesterday. H2K against Fnatic. You said it back in Champ Select. This is a team that people have been having a hard time figuring out what their weak points are, and that revealed some of them. See if SK can continue to press their advantages here. Ottawamne and Lulex are under the tower, but they turn their attention to Candy Panda. Wild Growth is on him. He's still going to go down. It's Ottawamne who takes him down for his first kill, and rated a bit low, but it's going to be Sven coming around the side. Will he be able to keep him alive? The barrel
Here's Jace.
Down, Shock Blast misses. There is the explosive cast, but Ryu's there, and he is going to be able to get the big hammer to the Lulu. Yarnan in some trouble from Fox, but flashes out of danger. 2 kills for H2K.
Yes, zero hesitation play there, and look at how Lulex handed over that kill to Ottawamne. He could have sniped that kill, but he knows his role within the team is just supportive right now, and even though that Shock Blast missed from Jace, we saw how much damage Ryu was doing to the flashless and rated, and this even outs the mid game here. Zero almost made a pick off on Kjarnan. That damage is still real. That was without the Janna shield, by the way. That Janna shield hit right after the Shock Blast connected, so with shield that will do maybe even more damage.
Starting to become a real threat for SK. They have to kick this game into high gear and use their gold lead to translate into an objective lead. As it stands, they still have those 3 towers, but Fox, he can't safely farm anymore as far back as he was.
And that was with enrated shielding. Fox in the mid lane right there. Rank 4 Lulu shield. Got evaporated and still took such a chunk out of Fox's ear, so win condition for H2K with the double poke is still very much so alive. And their late game condition, called Rise, ever so vital and alive still. So by no means are they out of this game. However, they're finding themselves 4,000 gold behind, soon to be 5 as this tower crumbles.
Down into dust it goes, and SK Gaming We'll have 4-1 on the edge. The gold lead, about 5,000 here still. Dragons have been even, but H2K are the ones who are fighting back. It's SK that need to be able to make these plays before the game gets out of hand, and Lulex is the one who's going to be trying to start this, but he runs into Fox and Svenskeren, and he's taken down, alone and friendless. That was not the Void Rush you were looking for.
Very, very. The jungle is dark and full of terrors. Tremor Sense won't help you there, as he walks in and just dies. Why would you go that deep with your Rek'Sai ultimate when you have Yarn and split pushing in the bot lane? SK, 5 kills, 5 towers in unison. Not looking for the 5th dragon anymore because they have a 5,000 gold lead. A lot of 5s right here.
5, 5, 5, and 5, and SK Gaming looking to grab themselves a win over H2K here. It would certainly help them to boost themselves up in the standings. A win over the 2nd place team, or getting close to that, as H2K need to fight back, but they're making questionable mistakes here. They're making decisions that seem uncharacteristic of them.
And if you would look at the map and you would cover team names and you look at the vision, the state this game is in right now, you would imagine that H2K was the red team. Look at those pink wards, 3 pink wards around the map. 6, 7, 8 wards, complementing that 2 SK in full vision control right now. Full information, and they're honestly using it for what is one of the first times in the LCS, in my opinion. Playing a lot better than they did yesterday, and it almost seems true that SK plays to the level of their opponents.
Starting to believe that myself, and really, H2K, I don't think they're playing to the level of their usual selves. This might be the opening for SK Gaming to get back on the board. As it stands though, another dragon will be up in 30. You mentioned it's not necessarily SK's primary concern, as one was taken away by H2K, but the latter will be looking to secure some vision up here. Odo's backing, he's got his TP up, vision being cleared out. You know where the priority is for H2K at the moment.
Now, we still mentioned it before, we have a double tier composition from H2K coming out here on the Rise, on the Jace, and Ryu is about 100 mana away from getting that Mura mana. Seraphim's Embrace finally finished for Odoamne. There's going to be some big spikes, and honestly, they'll need him. H2K is looking to take their 6th tower in the top lane, but Odoamne does his best Rooney impression. Makes that wave disappear. Sven.
Looking to maybe get them to knock back into the team, but it's
flash over the NATO. Quite impressive, but just barely doesn't connect.
So quick from that one. You can tell that they're not wanting to take these fights. They're wanting to take the poke that they have, and rated. Look at his health bar. It's just
this is why I like Yarn so much as an AD carry. He's not afraid. He knows his team's on the defensive, but he sees this tiny opening where he can chunk the enemy support down to 50% health, and now and rated is in kill range. One chuck blast out of the blue, and he can straight up die.
He does have his wild growth available though, but if he has to use it on himself, that's not so great. No, SK too quick on the draw. They do secure
here's Odoamne
dragon, but yeah, there's the teleport, there's the fight. Odoamne slowed down. Can SK get out of dodge fast enough, or will they turn the fight? It's going to be Emperor's Divide pushing Lulex and Odo back. SK scattering around to try to avoid the poke damage. Looks like they might have gotten out scot-free.
Yeah, look at how H2K refused to flash over that wall. They know. They don't want to get caught there. They just want to poke, poke, poke. Ooh.
Keep on trying, nearly not connecting that shock blast.
Good job by SK realizing as well that they were getting flanked on. They took the ideal path out. Survive, but now they're getting siege upon. This is what H2K wants to do, because you become predictable when you're under a tower, because your movement pattern is so predictable if you want to clear those waves. Luckily for SK, no minions to be spotted, but this might be an opening for H2K to even out the turrets. Still a tier 1 tower open in the mid lane.
Much needed gold if they do take it down, but Svenskeren and Rated and Fox are rushing to try and defend this. There are some minions. It's only Odo pushing on the mid. They will not be able to take it, as the cavalry was there for the defense. SK Gaming still closing the gaps, but still some close calls with the poke from H2K.
5,000 gold down. Still those 5 kills and still those 5 towers. H2K might have to dial 555. Help me, please. Get out of this game.
Call themselves a lifeline, that is for sure. No one could have expected that this is how the game would have played out, just looking at the standings and the playstyles of these two teams. SK showing up unexpectedly, but definitely showing up.
All right, good game so far. Can they close, though, is the question. Yesterday they had a substantial lead, and the way that was apparent to close out the game against Elements, but They couldn't find an opening. And even though the gold is this big of a difference, H2K has been pressuring back. We haven't seen Svenskeren spend as much time in H2K's jungle as he did in the earlier stages of the game. As we group up, these pokes become so big that if SK eats one or two, their gold advantage suddenly crumbles. Fox has a sidestep, rockets left side, Chase shock blasts on the right side, amplified by the Janna shield.
This is a point in the game where H2K are definitely feeling a little more confident. They don't have to worry as much about the damage from Candy Panda. Caitlyn, you know, in this mid game, it's still turning into the late game. We're not quite there yet. It's not going to be as helpful. I think Cyanide summed up the usefulness last week, but they still have to be careful.
Svenskeren can take that poke though. That might be a operation from SK here. Let him eat all the skill shots. Something I could do. I'm incredibly good at eating skill shots. Maybe Gragas is a champion that I should start playing.
I've definitely seen it once or twice. For SK Gaming though, continue to try and cover their own flanks. But Candy Panda, he is in a bad spot. Prey Seeker, not enough damage to finish him.
And they're rotated out of mid lane right now. They have to enter into the mid lane, and this is easy poke for Ryu.
Keep them in a bad spot.
Gnar?
He's going to be hopping and skipping and jumping, but he can't defend this tower on his own.
Svenskeren's flanking.
They don't know he's quite there. The tower's down. Will they be able to get out? Svenskeren's not going to want to try to take a fight, so they do.
Yeah, this is the risk SK run when they commit for vision into one of these objective areas. If they leave their mid lane exposed, it doesn't take much. If you get a Jace with that quick shot from the W coming out with a Janna shield, he can destroy half the health of the tower in those 3 shots immediately. So make sure your waves are pushed before you rotate for an objective, and if you do, make sure you can at least threaten to take the objective within 10 to 15 seconds. Otherwise, you may just lose yourself a tower.
You gotta have
face full of poke.
Quick feet to avoid those shock blasts. Ryu is really stepping up to the plate this game. It's something we haven't seen for a little bit. We haven't seen as many Jannas. Seeing running that Soul Stealer. Very smart because you just don't die on Janna very much, but he's not got a lot of stacks for it to begin with.
Yeah, and if you have to look, he finishes the talisman, which is mobility, which he needs. All he has to do is amplify that poke and then disengage. And honestly, as you say, he's not going to die because he's not going to get into the fight. And usually you see a Mikhail's Crucible come out here, but there's nothing on SK's side aside from the polymorph from Lul, like a Sync and Hex. So more AP means a bigger shield, means more damage on Ryu. Look at that shield. It blocks Caitlyn to straight up. Look at that poke.
You can't stop those shock blasts. H2K look like they found themselves an opening. The armor shred there is going to be the barrel away. Candy Panda's in a little bit of trouble as Odo Wamne is causing some havoc here. Candy will go down to Ryu. Odo will finally fall. Picked up by Fox. Freddy and Meganar, though, is going to make H2K reevaluate this fight in a 1-for-1 trade. But the poke war continues.
Yeah, and Fuck does a lot of damage on that mid lane Azir. He's very strong now. He had a big spike.
He's definitely arrived. Sundisk's gonna get worn away here as SK are backing away.
What is he building? Is he getting... He's at first Rabadons. But is there room for second Rabadons?
How many hats can he wear?
What is he going for? I
think it looks like
an blasting wand. Void Staff.
Void Staff after that, yeah. He's just building 2 pieces.
Fox says, I'm getting so much gold here that I can build my items together, not one by one.
Really feeling confident. 4-0-1 on this game too. He's definitely had a big impact. High kill participation for SK. It has been a lower kill game with them rotating around, grabbing objectives. Dragon, speaking of objectives, is going to be up in about 10 seconds. SK setting up and securing vision. H2K not in a position to react to this, so this should go over to SK Gaming.
And once SK groups though, Freddy wasn't as tanky as he would like to be. He has some MR from that Mallet Mamosius, but combine that with the Frozen Mallet. Honestly, a couple of Triforce procs from Yarn took him down to half HP easily. And they're not going to start the Baron, they're just going to fake it out and force SK to run into the poke. Not sure if SK will bite, because they can just run down mid lane here. Trade objectives. Let's see how confident they are in the shot calling.
They've left Candy Panda here to work on this Dragon, but now H2K are caught themselves in the choke, forcing Kasing to monsoon this one. Candy Panda should be able to easily solo out this Dragon. Meanwhile, SK are pressuring down mid with 4. They get one right there.
This might prompt an engage though. H2K will hear that sound and they say, hey, wait a minute, who's soloing that Dragon then? Candy Panda, we can just engage.
Maybe it's SK that can re-engage on this one. Freddy was taking a little bit of poke, but he was able to return fire. Lulex going in, wants to start this fight. It's going to be Freddy, and then rated that are low, but Fox comes around the side as Freddy picks up Lulex, fighting as the blue buff
Fox
is right
down.
in the middle of the mix. Fox is not involved in this fight anymore. It's a 1-for-1 trade. H2K, they get the better of that. They lose a tank, but they pick up a carry.
Yeah, good trade there for H2K. The Yarnin is so fearless. He just continuously walks up forward because he knows if anybody turns around to fight, he can support a Ryu and Sing to keep him alive. Good trade right there. They get Fox's, I think it was a killing spree. Must have been, unless he died exactly on 2 deaths. And now SK have to be careful because that Baron can die very, very quickly.
With a lot of games with H2K, you have to be careful, have to respect them. We said this was a risky comp, but it is a comp that H2K have committed to, and they are starting to scale. 33 minutes on the game, and rated that shield. Oh, it's just not nearly enough. He doesn't get it all down in time. Kasing, Ryu, and Yarnin around the side, clearing vision in this jungle of SK. Looking at it, you definitely think they were the ones in the lead, but right now, they're facing a gold deficit, but they're still pushing SK in.
But they're closing in that goal deficit ever so slightly, and as the game goes on, percentually talking, that goal deficit means less and less and less. Especially now that, for quite a while, Ryu has hit that Muramana spike, add a BS sword, add a brutalizer, penetrate the armor with Last Whisper.
He hurts.
He hurts a whole lot. You almost want SK to walk into the shock blast and then flash over it forward.
Oops, Sven Skaren. He can't connect the barrel. Odowane is going to get knocked, however, by the big one. And Yarnin,
in trouble.
He's caught, but he manages to get a pick off onto Sven before it all happens. Odo's going to follow him down, however, and Lulex has to tunnel away. The rest of H2K not there. Emperor's Divide, you are denied. And SK Gaming pick up another kill there. 3 for 1, but Candy eats a big shock blast. Can they finish this Baron in time?
Yeah, we talked about how fed Ryu was and how strong he was, but they fought without him. Now Ryu just wants to poke him down.
Still keeping time on this Baron. Freddy, Meganar gets the big one. That's a shutdown though for Ryu. Kasing pops the Monsoon. All of a sudden, they have to back. 2 kills, the Baron assist, and Ryu chasing down N-Rated and Candy Panda. And a triple! How about it, Ryu?
Holy moly! What did Ryu eat for breakfast? Fantastic play. Connects on the right targets at the right time and gets some assistance from Baron buff. And yeah, H2K, hopefully you learned your lesson. Don't fight without Ryu, because holy moly, he does a lot of damage.
I think SK had to learn that lesson too. Don't fight when Ryu's there. 6-1, teleport in for Odo. They're gonna look to rush this Baron down. It's spotted by SK's ward, but still some time on Candy Panda, Fox, and Freddy. Sven could attempt the Miracle Steal, but he's got to be careful to dodge the Shock Blast. And Rated is there as well. In goes Odowane. They're going to turn their attention with just him. Big Barrel to try and push him back. Teleport now for Freddy as he's come back off of Fountain. Odo's still standing strong. Baron going low. Sven Skaren comes in. The steal is complete. Sven Skaren comes up with it, and Freddy picks off Odowane.
Very questionable flash from Odowane. He tries to jump on Svenskar and chunk it out. Svenskar is simply too tanky. In return, H2K know that they just lost damage on Baron. They can't burst it down anymore. Let's watch it again. He flashes over. Snare, hit, just not enough. It keeps him alive. And now H2K loses damage on Baron. And they're pressured because the longer they wait, the more people from SK come back. And they burn down the Baron and Svenskar. And this is a beautiful steal and game saving. See if SK can use this 5,000 gold lead with the Baron buff, because now no longer does Ryu just simply one-shot that wave. They need 2 shockwaves, perhaps even 3 to get through that. And H2K might lose some more towers.
So with that, the momentum shifts back that way. SK Gaming still with the gold lead, still with the Dragon lead, now with the stolen Baron in their pockets, start to head down the top lane. Merrily with the minions at their back. The Janna shield won't keep it there for long. The Shock Blast not doing nearly enough, and down it goes. 6 towers to 4. SK looking to start firing on the inhibitors. And the siege will commence. Meganar up. Will they dare to face themselves on directly? They're going to give this tower up. Now they go in, but it is going to be Odo going down. Oh no, Candy Panda gets the kill credit, and SK Gaming can now take themselves an inhibitor on the back of a big minion wave. They surf it to a couple objectives and a kill.
Yeah, Svenskar with his ultra tanky build, Frozen Heart, Cinder Hulk. And right now a Banshee's Veil finished too.
Fox.
He is the anti-poke. Ryu looking for some more target practice.
Fox's back got stopped there as the rest of his team was able to get away. Fox has to flash the shock blast.
Oh, Rio's so good on Jace.
Oh, man.
But his team is not allowing him to carry. Give away the Baron. That did more harm for H2K than the benefit they would have gotten from getting that Baron, honestly. Yeah, 10 out of 12 deaths on SK right now, or on Lulex and Oduwamne.
Yeah, H2K have got themselves in a little bit of a strange situation. We said that Odo's usually the one who steps up and carries. Obviously, that didn't happen yesterday. He's got himself 1-6 to the 6-1 of Ryu this time. You can see H2K are relying on something a little bit different this game, but the problem is SK are moving forward with this lead. Dragon number 4 now being fired on, and they have to give this away.
Now this means 6 minutes from now, SK will be able to challenge 5th Dragon, potentially Baron 2. So that right when this Baron buff expires, roughly 1 minute 30, 2 minutes from now, I imagine. That's when H2K have a window for the next 3 or 4 minutes where they have to start poking and pushing out again, get map control, because you don't want to find yourself in the darkness. Dragon spawning. Baron buff is out actually already. Lost track of time.
Still got some power to push though. See if H2K can stop this one. They've got all that poke. Odo's here with his home guard boots.
Candy Panda still goes low. We need one opening, that's all we need.
Coins procced.
We're gonna see some fights.
SK, nothing doing. They're gonna back away from that. Do not want to give it up.
And H2K, they're at the verge of going 0-2 here this weekend.
If they lose this one too, this will be the first loss they've been handed by any of the teams outside the top 3.
Yep.
Fnatic, Origin both took them down. Origin way back in week number 1. But H2K here, they have given up a lot, and SK Gaming have realized the advantage they have. Starting to siege down this turret. 39 minutes on the clock, but they've got to be careful here. Candy Panda, he was healed right back up. Those shields are coming in handy.
Take a look at the top lane too, Pyra. First Nexus Tower coming under siege. Moving Oduwamne over.
Yeah, Odo's got to go back and defend against that one, but that leaves them a man down here. Janus shield on the turret. The minion wave is a little slow to arrive, so Odo can get back.
BT finished
the defense
on Ryu. Another BF sword there. A lot of damage.
Oh, looking for Yarnin. Can't quite get it. Lulex is the one who's going low.
Fox
Poked down by Fox. The Monsoon will keep him alive, but it's Fox that gets taken down as well. Yarnin, ace in the hole, follows through, but he's got a shield. Sven tanking the damage. They will finally find the inhibitor turret. All said and done. It's a 2-for-1 trade, and SK will find inhibitor number 2, looking to close out this game against H2K.
Yeah, 2-for-1 trade right there, but most importantly, they finish off the inhibitor because Candy Panda went untouched. A lot of free farm though. For H2K.
I guess you gotta look at the bright side, Crepo. They're gonna have it for some time. 2 inhibitors down. SK trying to bait H2K out of their own base. Baron will be up and live in another couple of minutes. Dragon a little bit longer than that. 40 minutes into this game, SK squeezing the life out of this once very dominant H2K team.
Eventually, Ryu's gonna run out of item slots.
And then what?
2 of them left then. Game's probably over by then, actually, the way it's going so far. Let's see if H2K can bounce back. They've proven to be resilient so far, but they've been making the same mistakes over and over so far. I feel like Oduwamne has been flashing forward a bit too much, playing a little overzealous. And right now they don't have the capability anymore to poke before these fights too much. They really want to find an opening on a squishy target and just one-shot him. They need to find Fox and Candy Panda, take him down, and then somehow survive the rest of the fight.
That is a big Gragas.
Yep.
I said what was Ryu eating for breakfast? I don't know what Sven's Karen was, because he's definitely frontlining all of the damage from H2K as he's needed to do with that Iron Elixir.
Yep, and he's fulfilling his role perfectly. 11 assists out of 14 kills on the SK Gaming lineup. Itemized perfectly. Banshees blocks one of the pokes. Frozen hard. Gives you a lot of armor.
Candy Pan is still taking the poke, but he's not as worried about it here as long as they can keep him safe behind the lines. He's able to throw out those ace in the holes. Oduwamne is going to tank that one. A shock blast hits Sven Karen, but he's perfectly okay with that. Sundus to fall back to. Inhibitor respawns in the top, but SK are not letting the siege up.
They're not here to take down the middle of Inhibitor Tower. They're simply, it seems, waiting for objectives to spawn behind them so they can peel back. However, H2K managed to get a lot of wards in that area. H2K hasn't cleaned them. I want to see if SK don't split up. They might not be able to force this. Let's see if they can.
To maybe try, but there's a lot of wave clear on the side of H2K. You can see those fast spots.
Those traps are really annoying to deal with, actually. Candy Panda takes damage. As we hear them getting sprung, Sing is on trap duty. The side lane
down, but yes, this bottom lane is pushing very heavily. H2K know that they have to take a moment to move, but they can't catch SK Gaming the moment they go for the chase. SK poof vanishes. Baron's live again.
And Candy Panda, most importantly, picked up that Quicksilver Sash. That means the next time Odoamne flash snares him, he can QSS flash out himself. Get the Wild Growth potentially on him or on Fox on the Azir, and suddenly those two squishy carries become a lot harder to take down. Even in rated, to survive more than 2 pokes right now, which means Ryu is having a harder time carrying this mid to late game, and SK played it well. Odoamne is looking for the home guard TP, but he's on wave clear duty at the same time.
He's got to run out of the base to clear those minions away. That means H2K can't rely on that big wombo combo there, and SK aren't going to give him an opening to even try and fight. Vision control there is scattered from both teams, but SK Gaming are the ones that are putting him in the right places, not letting H2K do much of anything. Dragon will be up in another 30 seconds. This is Aspect.
Yep, this Dragon will be big because H2K managed to prevent the Baron with some vision. SK didn't want to commit yesterday. They, yeah, one could argue that throw is a big word, but they managed to squander their lead against Elements around the Baron, but they gladly wait for a Dragon instead, and crucial point of the game.
Tried to keep denying H2K a chance to get back into this one, but H2K equally need to deny this Dragon 5. SK Gaming, with that big buff that they would receive, be able to continue to force their way in. Odoamne's around the side. H2K moving into position. Dragon started. It's going down so quickly, but they made their move. Dragon's low. It's going to get picked up. There's Aspect. Can SK do it with this? They pick up 1 kill on Odo. They're going to look for 2. Lulix is down. Ryu's fired. It's Candy Panda running wild. Big shutdown on Ryu, courtesy of Fox, and a triple kill for Candy Panda.
Can SK do this, you ask? And yes, they can. 5 kills, 5 dragons, Aspect of the Dragon, and they're looking to close out this game.
Nothing stands in their way. 50 seconds on those death timers. Aspect of the Dragon, Aspect of SK Gaming. 45 minutes into this one, they're melting through the remaining objectives. Easy peasy, let's face tank ourselves some turrets. And SK Gaming, after a very rough start to this split, will finally manage to grab another win on the board and take down H2K.
And after such a victory, you have to put your shoes back on. Candy Panda says, one of those players that comfortably plays without his shoes. So if you're stuck in a bad start, and you're at home and you're wondering, what do I do differently to win these games? Take off your shoes.
That's the secret.
Honestly, you know, SK Gaming, impressive performance, honestly. They managed to find a good lead here. Svenskeren, man of the early game. Found himself in H2K's jungle, limited Lulix, who already sacrificed himself to get Odoamne ahead. And H2K did what they actually did a lot, where they sacrificed Odoamne to get a lead on the bot lane, but H2K got predicted by SK. Odoamne went back up the top lane where he was even before. He now fell 20 CS down, actually. They started a snowball, level 5, Svenskeren, level 3 Lulix at that point in the game. Big experience. Disadvantage, and yeah, this man right here,
squad,
probably, he knows there's things to work on, but they've built themselves up quite the buffer in the standings. So.
You can afford to make a few mistakes, drop a few games, but nonetheless, if you want to separate yourselves from the pack and keep yourself safe in that top 3, you cannot do this consistently. So that's something they're going to have to keep their eyes on, is probably the hand on the shoulder of Ryu, the rest of the team in turn. Ryu really stepped up, played an amazing game on that Jace, but the rest of his team just couldn't do quite enough. And again, teamwork, decision-making, it seemed that they were a bit out of sync this game. It's not something that we've seen from H2K this split.